Hisuian Lilligant is never really used, but this thing is way better than people give it credit for. The thing has a really cool offensive typing with grass fighting, and her stats really back that up, being a glass cannon with base 105 attack and speed. It also gets the chlorophyll ability that allows it to be faster than essentially everything in the sun, and we can even pair that with the insanely strong stab option in Solar Blade, which is a 125 power move that doesn't require a charge in the sun. Plus, it's just kind of sick to use a solar beam as a lightsaber. It's also got stab close combat to destroy people, along with coverage in surprise triple axle or even Terra Blast fire. With the extra 30% damage boost from a life orb, Hisuian Lilligant often doesn't even need any setup to completely sweep a match. So today, we're gonna go slicing some people with the newly skinny flowered dancer thing. Look, I'd say it'd be embarrassing to be beat up by homegirl wearing straight up wooden clogs, but it happens to the best of us. Hisuian Lilligant is a damn problem, and she often shows no mercy. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much. I really have so much appreciation for everybody that watches these videos. It's crazy to me that I just sit here and mess around playing mons, building weird stuff, and I have a really fun time doing it, and it's still crazy to me every day that there's so many people that watch these and have a good time doing it. So again, thank you guys very much for being here. The support is greatly appreciated. And so today in our first match, we're going up against a very scary team that has some of the scariest threats, but you know, we're gonna do our best. Let's jump into it. So this is gonna be an interesting matchup. What's both good and kind of bad is that my opponent also is working with, a sun team. And while they do have a Torkoal to set up their own sun, I can kind of try to piggyback off of that. Turns out instead they decide to lead off with Walking Wake, and crazy prehistoric Suicune is the damn problem. As I've got a dog made out of rocks, I am not the best guy for the job, but I can take at least a Hydro Steam because I know that I'm Focus Sash, and that hurts a lot. But at least get my Stealth Rock up. Does reveal that this thing is going to be Life Orb, and here's the thing: I do not really have anything to do here other than click Accelerock, so I can switch into a Porygon 2, and one good part is that, Walking Wake is not nearly as scary if the sun isn't up with Hydro Steam. So I can bring in the Rubber Ducky, download a little special attack, and take a Hydro Steam, hopefully. I mean, I'm pretty defensive with Evil Item specialty. I'm on the special side, so that's what they said in high school too. But regardless, the Rubber Ducky takes the little steam bath nicely. And at this point, I decided to throw out a Thunder Wave. I am kind of afraid of a Walking Wake. Who isn't, right? I go for a T-Wave, and as they end up switching into the Torkoal here, it's a little bit of a problem. I mean, it comes in, takes some Stealth Rock, which is good, sets up its sun, and then now, if the turtle wasn't already slow enough, it was going to be paralyzed, but then I missed. So, Thunder Wave miss is actually not that bad against Torkoal. I'm like, that's kind of fine. I don't really have much that wants to swap in here. And I just decide, they're probably going to set up Stealth Rock, and it's not really worth me going into the Lycanroc there to just come in before the Stealth Rock. And I figure, with this +1 special attack, I can do some pretty good damage to a Torkoal. So it does do a huge chunk, and that's one of my favorite things about Porygon 2. With a download special attack, it can do so much more damage than people expect, and plus with Bolt Beam coverage, check it out. I go for the Ice Beam as they end up swapping into the Hisuian Lilligant of their own. Homegirl comes in on an absolute nuke of an Ice Beam that they were not expecting. Surely they thought I was just going to T-Bolt again, but I figured an Ice Beam was going to be enough to kill the Torkoal anyway. And that is a huge kill on my end. Without them having access to one of their biggest chlorophyll sweepers, that's gonna make life a little easier. So that feels pretty nice. We grab essentially, I had no reason to not click Ice Beam there. There was a chance that they went into that, and as it worked out, that's pretty nice. So now as they go Great Tusk, this thing does get a Photosynthesis attack boost. And these Tusks are actually pretty great. That's going to hurt a little bit. So I decided to save the Porygon 2. And one way that I can kind of mitigate a potential Rapid Spin would be to go into the Rockweiler. I died to the Stealth Rock immediately, which seems kind of poetic. Rock Dog dies to rocks. But they end up busting out a Terra here. They're going to pull out, I believe it's the Terra Water. They want to try to potentially be able to live an Ice Beam if Porygon 2 stayed in. But now this thing's sitting over here all by itself, looking like a fool with a fountain on its head, and as they go for the Rapid Spin, that's one way to spin block. When you don't have a Ghost type, you can block the spin by just not having anything over there. So if there's nothing to target, they cannot get rid of the Stealth Rock. That is great. And now, guess what time it is, baby? We're gonna go right into the Hisuian Lilligant. I can bring in this thing and do a little twirl, and we're looking fancy. And we're also in a really good spot here. The Terra Water works, of course, for us nicely because I can now Solar Blade and still grab a kill even from full. And also, you know, nothing wants to take a lightsaber to the face. So, you know, one of my favorite things about Hisuian Lilligant is that it doesn't even need much setup. You throw a life orb on the girl, and the damage is insane. So, it turns out they're going to swap into Dragonite here, which is not really ideal, but then I'm like, you know, that's a pretty good bait switch in here, because as I do hit it with the Solar Blade, does enough chip to at least break the multi-scale. It did come in, didn't take damage from the Stealth Rock, reveals it's going to be heavy-duty boots, but now, with the multi-scale broken, guess what? I can now throw out a triple axle. Outspeed, they do not click the extreme speed, and all we need is 2. That's going to kill the Dragonite. Triple axle coverage on this thing often goes unnoticed. People don't expect it, but that's going to be a dead Dragonite, and you gotta love when you kill a Dragonite before, you know, it extreme speeds anything. And it's also really good that we baited the Terra on the Great Tusk already. Don't have to worry about any crazy shenanigans with that. And honestly, Lilligant is in a pretty good spot here. We're also, keep in mind, we're using their son. Their Torkoal's son. I haven't even sent in my Ninetales yet, but as they now go Walking Wake, it does get a Photosynthesis speed boost, but Clarice over here moving quick as hell. These running shoes. I can go ahead and outspeed with my speed doubled through Chlorophyll. I do have the ability to be faster, and a Solar Blade with a neutral hit with the Life Orb is a kill from that range, and that's a dead Walking Wake as well. Now there's just blood and guts all over the battlefield, and we're just a freaking Jedi over here slicing things. So as long as the sun is up, we're having a pretty good time with the Lilligant. Now they go into Tusk once again, and obviously just gets the attack boost, which is fine. If it's not a defense boost, we know it's not going to be physically defensive. And a Solar Blade should be able to just harvest some ivory from Buddy's big-ass tusks here. And we have 1 turn left of the sun, I believe. So taking advantage of that, I can go for 1 more Sliceroo. That is going to kill the Great Tusk. And look, sometimes this thing just has coverage. There's not much you can do against the freaking Lilligant. We're just out here killing some of the biggest threats in the game with ease. And as I take some more Life Orb chip, the sun does go away. So while that is a little bit, you know, not great, that's still fine, because at this point in the match, I'm thinking this. I still have my Ninetales. I can go into Ninetales here. I can basically just get my sun up, come back in, outspeed the Flutter Mane, and then just finish it off with Lilligant. Now, it's a little more interesting than that, because as I immediately go into this thing, I'm thinking, well, if it's Photosynthesis speed, that's going to give me a little bit of a problem. But first, you know, I can guarantee that Ninetales comes in, sets back up the Drought will be there for the remainder of the game. But as the Photosynthesis comes through, it is going to be a speed boost. And that is bad, because this Lilligant is built with only 108 speed EVs to be able to outspeed most things with Choice Scarf. But since it's not max speed, I do not outspeed a timid Photosynthesis boosted Flutter Mane. And that is actually kind of unfortunate. I figured I could throw some cheeky HP EVs in there just for good measure, because, you know, in Chlorophyll, this thing's fast as hell anyway. But now I find myself in a spot where I cannot just immediately go into the Lilligant here, and instead, luckily I still have Porygon 2. And after Stealth Rock, I should be able to take an attack from this thing, at least one of them, being max special defense on the guy. I can then fire off a Thunder Wave, and luckily if we connect, then the Lilligant can outspeed. So they go for the Moonblast. Luckily, I am able to live, because Porygon 2s just never die. I do connect on a Thunder Wave, and that's pretty much going to button up the game, because now as I can just essentially sack the Porygon, all I have to do is go back into Lilligant, and then a Solar Blade is going to finish it. So got almost a little bit of a problem there with the Flutter, but they're going to go ahead and head out as they see the win condition there, and that's going to be the end of the game. So we saw 2 Lilligants in the match, one dying immediately, and one of them got to stick around. So I thought that was just an interesting game. But as always, that's now going to bring us into game number 2. And, you know, we got to see if we can get this girl to pop off once again. And I gotta say, this is one of the more fun Chlorophyll users. Physical grass types are just sick as hell. Solar Blade is an extremely powerful move. This thing just has crazy coverage. And with that, hey, if you've stuck around this far into the video, go ahead and do me a favor. Click that like button if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel. I am currently trying to do the old full-time Pokemon YouTuber thing, and when the YouTube algorithm is pleased, that helps me out a little bit. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the next game. Alright, so this time my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the normal Tusk. And I still have the Lycanroc. So this is not really the best matchup for Lycanroc. Now this time I've been messing around with this thing's moveset. Replacing Taunt for Endeavor, it's pretty nice, because I can kind of get knocked down to Focus Sash, go for an Endeavor, finish things with Accelerock, and profit. But first of all, I go for a Stealth Rock here. I figure they probably Stealth Rock as well. And as we just kind of compare rock sizes, I'm looking a little bit bigger, but for the most part, I've got myself in a little bit of a bad spot here now. The reason is because I can't really touch the thing, and then it just is going to Earthquake me and then I can't really Endeavor. It's not ideal. So I instead decide to switch right into the Ninetales. I figure they probably Rapid Spin, so all the work I put in with the thing is kind of wasted. But I bring in the Firefox here. I get up the Drought, and that is step one to allowing Lilligant to kill things. Now, as they do Rapid Spin, does a nice little bit of chip there, and that is kind of unfortunate. Now, also, as I'm looking at it here, I figure they probably are afraid of a Solar Beam. I'm thinking maybe they end up swapping into something like Blaziken on a Solar Beam. Regardless, if they just Earthquake, I'm thinking a good middle ground play isn't a horrible option to just go right into Lilligant. Now, as I end up bringing in Lilligant here, I'm really mostly hoping that they end up swapping. Now, I'm figuring if this thing doesn't sweep early, at least I can get something going against the squad. As I come in, they do stay in, go for the Earthquake, and that does way too much damage. Does get a critical hit, and that is unfortunate. Now, while I do have the upper hand here on being able to go for a Solar Blade, the bad thing is I know this thing is sturdy, and then I'm going to be put in range after Life Orb to potentially die on like the next turn, and it's not really ideal. But regardless, I've made it this far. I figure fuck, we're going to just go ahead and fire off some blades. You know, when in doubt, just bust out the green lightsaber, slash his ass in half. It does live with the sturdy, but check this out. This is hilarious. It does live, and it's going to activate its red card. And red card Donphan, listen, look, I'm somewhat of a red card Donphan enjoyer myself, but sometimes the red card works against you. And it does a little bit in this situation because that's going to end up saving the life of Clarice, which is sick. Because as they now go for a knockoff on the Lycanroc switch in, I'm able to live that, which is awesome, as they didn't Earthquake it again. And now I can just pick off the Donphan with an Accelerock. And I'll still have the Lilligant in the back for later. And so, you know, I have the potential to set back up my son, and we live to see another day. So that's going to take care of the Donphan, and you love when a plan comes together. So now, as they do have a Quaquaval, we know the power of the Quaquaval. This thing is an absolute massive threat. But with the sun up, I'm a little less afraid. Now, while I could try to get some damage on the thing, I instead opt to go for the Stealth Rock. I know they have stuff like the Yanmega back there, and Stealth Rock is going to be super helpful. And plus, I figure they can go for an Aqua Step all they want. They're going to get the speed boost and the Moxie boost that comes with it. But knowing that they would need, you know, a couple speed boosts to be able to run faster than the Hisuian Lilligant, I'm not really afraid. So the sun is still up, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and the grannies in the back are still waving after all these years. But I can go right into the Lilligant here. It takes some Stealth Rock damage, but that is fine. I still got quite a few attacks in the chamber. I can go for a Solar Blade, and as they end up not swapping, guess what? Guess what's going to happen to this thing? We're eating some roast peacock tonight, because this is going to absolutely slice and dice the hell out of it. That's going to be a dead Quaquaval. So just straight up just one-hit KOing things without boost. That's how we do it with this thing. And we take a little Life Orb chip. So I got my flower diaper on, and we are ready to do some more killing. Now, as we got the kill there, as they end up swapping into Blaziken, it takes a little bit of Stealth Rock chip. And also, one thing I know exactly about this matchup, and the reason why we run Life Orb, is that a stab close combat does get a one-hit KO on a Blaziken. And they probably did not expect it. Even if they had gone for a Protect there to get a speed boost, they would need two of them, or at least three of them actually, to be able to outspeed me. So, you know, that Blaziken catches these hands, and that's a satisfying kill there. So Blaziken down, Lilligant is over here just wiping out the squad. But now in comes Alolan Muck, and this thing is a little bit of a sketch option on whether I should swap and save this thing. I don't really have the ability to come in on Stealth Rock, so I decide to just click Close Combat, and I thought maybe it would kill. It doesn't. It lives with like 3 HP, which is wildly unfortunate. However, as I take my Life Orb chip, for some reason people click Minimize on Alolan Mucks. And whenever anybody does that, that just makes me want to beat them so much more. Are you going to really just... Evasion has got to be the most hilariously lame thing ever. But as they click Minimize there, that's fine, because I live my Life Orb chip. And all I have to do is just connect on one more Close Combat. And guess what, buddy? You're going to pay for trying to make yourself small and make me miss stuff, as Close Combat's going to kill it. So, you know, I don't know what got into people lately with trying to go Evasion. Regardless, we punish them for it, and that's going to be a dead Muck. And sadly, I at least do knock myself out with the Life Orb. Now, it gets kind of better to kill yourself. Captain goes down with its chip. Down goes the Lilligant, and now we got to try to see if we can clean up the match. So, first of all, the sun goes away. So I decide I can bring in the Ninetales. I'm working with this Pyro that could also benefit from it, and they've got just a few mons left. So what they've got is going to be the Yanmega, and they also have an Ampharos in the back. And as I'm looking at it, Yanmega doesn't outspeed me unless it gets a boost. And even then, Ninetales just has the upper hand on this matchup. So it comes in, it is not heavy duty boots. It takes half from the Stealth Rock, which is always satisfying. I can then just outspeed with a Weather Ball, and that is gonna just toss an orb at his face to ponder. That's gonna be a dead Yanmega. So that takes care of that. And Ninetales oftentimes is just here to set up Drought, but then you realize sometimes Weather Balls in the sun just do a lot of damage to stuff. Ninetales itself is a really, honestly, pretty solid all-around Mon. But now their final thing is going to be the Ampharos here. It takes the Stealth Rock, and I'm like, you know what? No reason for me not to just stay in here and continue to Weather Ball. I can easily outspeed an Ampharos, and I'm not really afraid of what this thing's got to do. But they do pull out the late game Terra. They figure, you know what? Might as well just click the Terra here. It's going to be Terra Fairy, so it doesn't really end up affecting the matchup here on the Weather Ball. This thing does have the ability to live one, though. I figure I just need the chip anyway. So I go for the Weather Ball. I'm like, that's fine. You can look all cute with your heart on your head. But I get the critical hit, and that is going to be a dead-ass Ampharos. So sometimes the crit just makes the game go quicker, and you kind of love to see it. So that's going to be the end of that one. That was just a ridiculous match. It really showcases a lot of the Lilligant, and that thing is honestly insane. So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys very much for watching. For real, the support is so insanely appreciated. And with that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.